The Bold and the Beautiful, Blood-Stained Secrets. Amber Perfume. And the dangerous frame-up of Brooke Logan this week on The Bold and the Beautiful. Everything changes. The past comes roaring back with deadly consequences, dragging old names and hidden enemies into the light as a reopened forensic file pulls Brooke Logan into the eye of a storm she didn't see coming. It all begins with the unsealing of a dusty, long-forgotten safe, Stephanie Forrester's personal vault, untouched for years. But what lies inside doesn't just echo history, it rewrites it. Among the items recovered, an old letter, yellowed with time, stained with a deep brown smear that testing would soon confirm as blood. But it's not just the blood that sends shockwaves through Forrester Creations and the Los Angeles elite. It's what's written in the letter. And who wrote it, penned in the elegant but hurried scrawl of someone desperate. The note warns, beware the woman who wears amber. She moves like a shadow and leaves no second chances. At first, the message seems like the rambling paranoia of someone slipping into dementia. But the more the authorities dig, the more disturbing the trail becomes. Forensic analysis matches the handwriting to someone shockingly close to the Forrester family. A longtime confidant who remained behind the scenes for decades. The ink used in the letter, rare and expensive, was purchased in Paris 22 years ago. And then there's the final twist. A second object found in the safe, wrapped in silk and hidden beneath financial records. A fountain pen, its gold nib chipped, its handle engraved with initials no one had seen in years. The inscription reads, EF, and the engraving is worn, but legible. There's also a thin scratch along the edge. And when forensics run a match against a gouge in the crime scene plaster from the incident night, it aligns perfectly. The discovery sends detectives back into the field. The case that was once buried, closed without conviction due to lack of clear evidence, is now active. And somehow, someway, every trail seems to loop back to the same person, Brooke Logan. Witnesses from the night in question are re-interviewed. One of them, an elderly groundskeeper whose memory is frayed but whose story is chilling, swears under oath that he saw a woman fitting Brooke's description near the estate perimeter around midnight. His voice shakes as he says it. She smelled like flowers and fire. The kind of perfume you don't forget. Amber. Thick in the air. The detail hits like a bombshell. Amber perfume. The same scent referenced in the blood-stained letter. Brooke denies everything. Her voice is calm, but the panic in her eyes betrays her. She insists she was home that night, alone, grieving. No one can confirm her alibi. There's no surveillance footage, no call logs. And now, there's a growing dossier of circumstantial evidence that paints her not just as suspicious, but as the central figure in a decades-old cover-up. The media pounces. Headlines scream, Brooke Logan implicated in cold case shocker, paparazzi swarm her car. Forrester board members whisper in corridors. Ridge doesn't know what to believe. One minute he's defending her. The next, he's haunted by fragments of memory from the night in question. An argument, a slammed door, Brooke wearing a shawl that smelled like something musky. Something not her usual fragrance. As pressure mounts, so does the cast of suspicious characters. Enter a newcomer with a face all too familiar. Evelyn Forrester, a woman in her mid-40s with sharp eyes, sharper words, and a smile that hides rot. She claims to be the forgotten daughter of Stephanie Forrester. A child born out of wedlock during Stephanie's college years. Erased from the family tree. Sent away and silenced. Evelyn isn't here for peace. She's here for vengeance. And she comes bearing the very same engraved pen. One that she claims was gifted to her by Stephanie during a rare private meeting 15 years ago. But Evelyn's arrival coincides too perfectly with the forensic reopening. Her story is too polished. Her timing too strategic. And though the pen she holds bears the matching scratch, it begs one horrifying question. Was the evidence planted? Because if Evelyn is who she says she is, she has motive. A lifetime of abandonment. A mother who erased her. A family who never knew she existed. And a step into a world where, by name alone, she could inherit millions. If only a few people were out of the way. Brooke becomes her first target. In public, Evelyn plays coy. She compliments Brooke's grace, her longevity, her devotion to Ridge. But in private, she slips in barbed comments, stirs old resentments, and feeds Ridge twisted versions of history. Stories in which Brooke always ends up the villain. The poison works. Ridge becomes distant. Brooke begins to feel her world unraveling, one accusation at a time. The most damning blow arrives during a closed-door meeting with investigators. The forensics team reveals the blood on the letter matches a rare genetic marker. The test is 99.87% conclusive. The blood belonged to Stephanie Forrester herself. Which means she bled, perhaps even died, within reach of that letter. Within arm's length of whoever wrote it, and the pen with Evelyn's initials. But there's a catch. The DNA test reveals a second marker. Another Forrester bloodline. And it's not Ridge. The shock is immediate. Evelyn. The lab results are clear. Evelyn is Stephanie's biological daughter. But that doesn't exonerate Brooke. If anything, it pushes her deeper into the pit. Because now, Evelyn has legitimacy, a reason to fight, and a narrative that places Brooke as the final obstacle between her and everything she's owed. Brooke starts receiving anonymous messages. Slips of paper in her purse. Photos from the night in question. One shows a blurry silhouette outside the estate, a figure draped in a shawl, walking into the fog. Another shows the pen, before it was discovered, resting on a desk that hasn't existed in the Forrester house in 15 years. How were these photos taken? Who's sending them? And why does each one arrive with a simple typed message she never forgets? Panic takes hold. Brooke begins questioning her own memories. Was she truly alone that night? Could she have been framed? Or worse, did something happen that she blocked out? She visits Taylor, hoping for clarity, even guidance. But Taylor, still bruised from her own history with Brooke, is cautious. She listens but she doesn't lean in. The damage is too deep. As the week closes, Deacon arrives unannounced at Brooke's home. He's heard about the investigation. He's seen Evelyn at Il Giardino, cozying up to reporters, crafting her story. And he's seen enough darkness to know when someone is planting evidence. He warns Brooke not to trust anyone, not Ridge, not the police, not even her own instincts. Because someone out there is constructing a perfect lie. One so seamless, so delicately detailed, it could make anyone look guilty. Even the innocent. The storm is coming. Stephanie's safe was meant to protect secrets. But now, those secrets are tearing the Forrester world apart. A letter soaked in blood. A pen etched with betrayal. A stranger with a familiar name. And a woman who spent decades being the heart of the family now cast as a possible killer. Is Brooke being framed? Is Evelyn orchestrating it all? Or is the truth far more dangerous than anyone imagined? On The Bold and the Beautiful, the past doesn't stay buried. It returns, with blood on its hands. The Bold and the Beautiful, amber perfume. White masks. And a fragrance-fueled frame-up that could destroy everything in a week of explosive revelations. And building paranoia. The Bold and the Beautiful takes its murder mystery into a realm few soap operas dare touch. Sent as evidence. With a decades-old death freshly reopened. A shaky security camera clip. And the arrival of a long-lost heir. CBS's iconic daytime drama escalates from emotional to sinister. What begins as a vague memory turns into a meticulous plot involving deception, identity, and the invisible weapon of fragrance. Specifically, one worn by more than just the prime suspect. It all starts with the long-repressed crime scene video. The footage is grainy, barely legible, shot from a vintage corner-mounted camera inside the Forrester mansion's east corridor. But there's one unmistakable detail. A masked figure, dressed in dark clothing and gliding almost silently toward Stephanie Forrester's private wing. Pauses just before disappearing from view. The white mask reflects the dim hallway light, eerie, blank, theatrical. That alone would be enough to raise eyebrows. But it's what investigators detect behind the static-ridden frame that causes the panic to spike. A faint trace of amber perfume lingers in the air. The hallway ventilation captured scent particles. And those particles match the exact chemical signature of a fragrance known to be worn almost exclusively by Brooke Logan. Once again, all suspicions snap back to Brooke. She's dragged into questioning. She denies being near the scene on the night of Stephanie's death. She pleads her innocence. But the weight of evidence is mounting. The scent match. The ambiguous figure in the video. The old blood-stained letter naming the woman who wears amber. And now, this. Except Brooke isn't the only one who wore that perfume. Just days after the footage is reviewed, Evelyn Forrester, the recently revealed illegitimate daughter of Stephanie, produces an item that throws the entire case into chaos. From her personal collection, she presents a nearly full bottle of amber-based perfume. It's old, the glass opaque with time, but still intact. The scent is unmistakable. She claims it was a gift from her mother, Stephanie herself. This changes everything. Suddenly, the theory of a scent trap begins to take shape. What if the killer knew Brooke's perfume was distinctive? What if the killer purposefully wore that perfume to the crime scene? Not because they liked it, but because they wanted investigators to follow a very specific trail? It's a sophisticated form of misdirection. Brooke, already controversial, already connected to Stephanie by decades of animosity and overlapping love triangles, becomes the perfect scapegoat. The more people suspect her, the less likely they are to look anywhere else. But if not Brooke, then who? Enter Maurice Renard, a world-renowned fragrance archivist and artisan perfumer. Known for working with law enforcement on highly sensitive forensic olfactory cases. He is brought in at Ridge's request to reconstruct what he calls the scent signatures of everyone who could have been at the Forrester estate that night. He requests clothing, old scarves, hairbrushes, anything bearing trace oils or absorbed fragrance molecules. He even requests access to the Forrester mansion's HVAC data. It's unorthodox. It's obsessive, but it's exactly the kind of method this case demands. Maurice builds detailed olfactory profiles, molecular footprints, for Brooke, Evelyn, Taylor, Steffi, even Donna and Quinn. What emerges is stunning. Every person carries a unique scent identity. But the perfume in the hallway isn't just Brooke's signature scent, it's an altered version. The base is amber, yes, but it's been cut with synthetic vanilla and a musk variant not sold commercially. It's a custom blend, one no retail shelf has ever seen. Maurice confirms what no one wants to hear. The scent was manufactured, engineered to mimic Brooke's favorite fragrance but not an exact match. He calls it perfume forgery, and it's rare, expensive, and precise. The intent couldn't be clearer. Someone created this scent to smell like Brooke from a distance, knowing that in a high-stress investigation, perception would override precision. But who had the ability to design such a forgery? Who had access to both Brooke's habits and the resources to clone her perfume? The answer begins to form when Maurice, during his chemical analysis, finds a secondary trail, a residue from a discontinued aldehyde compound used only in Europe. He traces its origin to an independent boutique perfumery in Geneva, one whose recent order came from a name that raises every red flag. E.F. Evelyn Forrester. Confronted with the evidence, Evelyn doesn't deny owning the bottle. She claims it was a tribute, an attempt to recreate her mother's signature scent. But Maurice disagrees. The mixture is too close to Brooke's. In fact, it's closer to Brooke's than to anything Stephanie ever wore. That means it wasn't a nostalgic project, it was an impersonation. At the same time, Maurice reveals a second layer to the mystery. Using heat maps scent detection from the security footage corridor, he reconstructs a scent timeline. His team overlays it with trace movement analysis, mapping where the perfume was strongest and weakest. That leads to one shocking discovery. The scent cloud at the entry hall is real, but the strongest imprint isn't from amber at all. It's from iris and tobacco blossom, a unique combination worn not by Brooke but by Quinn Fuller. No one expected that. Now the case explodes into chaos. Brooke is no longer the only suspect. Evelyn is under scrutiny for forgery and manipulation. And Quinn, who had been away from the spotlight since her quiet exit, is now back in the center of a possible murder investigation. What reason could Quinn have for being there that night? What grudge would drive her back into the mansion long after her connection to the Forresters had supposedly ended? Theories swirl. Maurice digs deeper. Then the final blow lands. From the fiber analysis in the hallway, buried under the flooring panel, missed during the original cleanup, investigators recover a partial fingerprint preserved in a hardened drop of melted perfume wax. The match returns not Brooke, not Evelyn, not Quinn, but Donna Logan. No one saw it coming. Donna, the one person believed to be far removed from the conflict, the peacemaker, the flirt, the steady hand at Eric's side, now suddenly implicated in a decades-old homicide. She's stunned, as is Eric, who refuses to believe it. But the fingerprint is indisputable. The wax belonged to a personal seal Donna once used for letters. An antique trinket she claimed had been lost years ago. Now it turns up at the crime scene, covered in a substance that matches the forged perfume and linked to the scent cloud created to frame Brooke. Which means Donna wasn't framed, she was involved. Why? That's the question everyone's now asking. Did she help Evelyn in exchange for a promise to restore Logan dominance at Forrester? Did she act out of old resentment, jealousy, fear of being replaced? Was she manipulated? Blackmailed? Or was this something even darker, an accident buried beneath layers of guilt and silence? As the week ends, Brooke is finally cleared. Her name, while still smeared in the tabloids, is officially removed from the active list. But the damage is done. Her trust in everyone around her has shattered. Evelyn is arrested but remains calm, calculating even in cuffs. She tells Ridge, "You should be thanking me. All I did was make the truth a little easier to find." Maurice closes his report with one sentence. The nose never lies. But people always do. The fallout will be seismic. Donna now faces the biggest reckoning of her life. Quinn is on the run, unreachable. Brooke must pick up the pieces of a reputation nearly ruined by scent alone. Ridge stands at the center, torn between loyalty to his family and the endless waves of betrayal. Stephanie Forrester's final mystery is no longer about who killed her. It's about who made sure her death would tear everyone else apart. And the bold and the beautiful isn't done yet. Because in a world of secrets, whispers, and fragrances that deceive, even truth comes at a price. Stay tuned.
Oh.